When you're about to level up, everything will try to test you. This video reached you because you're closer than you think. Ever noticed how, right before something good happens, life starts acting strange? Signs appear, emotions shift, people behave differently. It's not random, it's alignment. If this message found you today, it might be the final nudge before your breakthrough. Stay with me, you need to hear this. Have you ever clicked on a video at the exact moment when you felt something big was about to happen in your life? Almost like the message was waiting for you? Sometimes, life doesn't announce breakthroughs with loud trumpets or flashing signs. Instead, it sends subtle nudges, an unexpected encounter, a perfectly timed sentence, or yes, a video that shows up right when you need it most. It feels almost eerie, like the universe tapped you on the shoulder and whispered, "Pay attention." People often describe these moments as coincidences, but they rarely feel coincidental. It's as if something invisible aligns circumstances so that the right message reaches you at the perfect time. You might be scrolling mindlessly, lost in a stream of random content, when suddenly one video freezes your attention. You weren't looking for it, but it found you. And more often than not, it delivers exactly the words, encouragement, or confirmation you didn't even know you were waiting for. This often happens in the quiet space between your current reality and a coming shift. Breakthroughs, whether spiritual, personal, or material, have a way of sending small signals right before they arrive. These signals don't scream, they nudge. It could be as simple as a friend randomly mentioning a phrase that resonates with your private thoughts, or a song lyric echoing a truth you've been avoiding. It might even be a stranger's video, like this one, appearing in your recommendations at the exact moment when your internal compass is recalibrating. Think of it like a navigation system rerouting you when you're close to your destination. When you're nearing a major life turning point, you often receive an uncanny sign that tells you to stay alert. It's not magic, it's alignment. Your focus sharpens, your senses heighten, and you notice things that previously slipped by. These moments act as mile markers, gentle confirmations that you're on the brink of something meaningful. For some, it happens right before receiving a job offer they'd nearly given up on. For others, it comes days before meeting a person who changes everything. And for many, it's in the middle of quiet uncertainty when they're almost ready to give up, but something small reminds them to hold on just a little longer. That something small might be this very message. If you're here, listening right now, take a breath and recognize that it may not be random at all. Life often speaks softly before it shifts dramatically. You just have to be awake enough to catch it. It's easy to assume that you're here because of some clever algorithm. After all, platforms are designed to keep you watching by recommending videos that match your interests. But every now and then, a moment happens that feels like more than just digital coincidence. It's the feeling that something bigger arranged this timing, almost like you were pulled here, rather than you consciously choosing to be. Think about how many videos you scroll past every single day without even noticing them. Out of thousands, this one caught your eye. The title spoke to something within you. The timing aligned perfectly with where you are right now, not yesterday, not next week, but this moment. That's the quiet beauty of what many people call divine timing. When your inner world and outer circumstances synchronize, events begin to line up in ways that feel almost too precise to dismiss as chance. From a psychological perspective, this happens because the human mind is wired to notice what resonates with its current emotional and mental state. Your subconscious is constantly scanning your environment, even when you think you're just browsing. When something matches your inner frequency, your current thoughts, hopes, doubts, or needs, it pulls your attention almost magnetically. That's why a particular message can stand out so strongly among countless others. It's not that the message is objectively louder, it's that you are tuned into it right now. Spiritually, many describe this experience as a form of alignment. It's the idea that when you're nearing an important point in your life path, guidance shows up through unexpected channels. The universe, God, or whatever name you use for the larger intelligence at work, doesn't always speak in thunderbolts. More often, it speaks through timing, intuition, and subtle signals, just like this one. And when you're open, these signals become impossible to ignore. This is why some moments feel meant. It's not that a mystical force hijacked the algorithm, it's that your attention, your timing, and the message intersected in perfect harmony. That intersection is powerful. It's often the space where realizations happen, decisions are made, or inner strength is reignited. So pause for a second. Out of everything you could be doing right now, you're here, reading these words, absorbing this message. Don't brush it off as meaningless. Sometimes, the quietest moments of alignment are the ones that change everything. This isn't an accident, it's a reminder that you're exactly where you need to be. Right before something big happens, life has a curious way of turning up the pressure. It's almost as if, just when you're getting closer to the finish line, the winds pick up and the terrain gets rougher. Obstacles appear out of nowhere, doubts grow louder, and unexpected problems suddenly demand your attention. Many people mistake this phase for failure, when in reality, it's often the clearest indicator that a breakthrough is near. This is what can be called the final resistance. Imagine running the last stretch of a marathon. That's usually when your legs feel the heaviest, your lungs burn, and your mind starts whispering reasons to quit. But if you've ever watched a marathon closely, that final stretch is also where the greatest transformations happen. It's the moment when inner strength surfaces, precisely because the finish line is closer than it seems. In life, the same dynamic plays out on psychological, spiritual, and practical levels. Psychologically, when you're approaching change, your mind often panics. It's wired to prefer the familiar, even if the familiar isn't good for you. So when you're about to step into something bigger, your brain starts generating resistance in the form of fear, second-guessing, procrastination, or sudden exhaustion. It's not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're growing beyond your comfort zone. Spiritually, many believe that just before elevation, there's often a test or surge of opposing energy, not to block you, but to refine you. These moments strip away any lingering doubt, forcing you to stand firm in what you believe. If everything was easy right up to your breakthrough, you wouldn't have the resilience needed to sustain what's coming next. In practical terms, this resistance might look like unexpected delays, a critical conversation that shakes your confidence, financial hiccups, or people misunderstanding your intentions. Sometimes, it's even quieter than that, an invisible heaviness that makes you question whether the path is worth it at all. That heaviness isn't there to crush you, it's there to see if you're ready to hold your ground. Think of this phase as life's way of checking your commitment. Anyone can stay optimistic at the starting line, but the real transformation happens in those final, uncomfortable steps before the door opens. If you're feeling resistance right now, don't interpret it as a stop sign. See it for what it truly is, the last push before your breakthrough, the storm before the sunrise. As you draw closer to a major turning point, something subtle but powerful often begins to happen. Meaningful coincidences start clustering around you. You notice repeating numbers like 11, 11, 222, or 555 showing up in unexpected places. Certain songs seem to play at exactly the right moment. A phrase you've been thinking about suddenly pops up on a billboard. A stranger says something that feels eerily relevant to the exact situation you're facing. These aren't random blips, they're what many refer to as synchronicities. Synchronicities occur when your inner state and outer reality start to align in a noticeable way. It's like reality begins speaking your language. Your attention becomes finely tuned, almost like a radio dial locking onto a clear frequency. Because you're approaching a breakthrough, your awareness heightens, and you start catching patterns that might have previously passed you by unnoticed. The result is a flood of little signs that seem to point in the same direction. For example, someone might be doubting a bold decision, say, starting a new business or leaving a draining job. Suddenly, everywhere they look, they see references to courage, new beginnings, or the exact industry they want to enter. A book falls off a shelf with a perfectly relevant title. A random conversation offers the exact piece of advice they needed. It's not that the world suddenly changed overnight. It's that their perception sharpened to match their intention. What they're focused on internally is reflected externally. On a spiritual level, many believe these signs are gentle confirmations that you're on the right path. When something is meant for you, reality doesn't always speak in words. It often speaks through timing, symbols, and intuitive nudges. Synchronicities act like breadcrumbs, guiding you through the forest of uncertainty toward the destination you're meant to reach. Psychologically, these moments also serve a crucial purpose. They boost confidence at times when external evidence might still be lacking. They whisper, "Keep going," when nothing else seems certain. However, it's important not to overanalyze every tiny thing. The power of synchronicities lies in their naturalness. You don't need to chase them. You simply need to stay open enough to notice when they appear. If you've been seeing repeated patterns, hearing the same message from different sources, or feeling like the universe is winking at you, don't dismiss it. These signs often cluster right before a major shift because you're entering a moment of alignment. It's life's way of saying, you're closer than you think. Keep your eyes open. There comes a moment on the path to any breakthrough when the external signs seem to quiet down, and the only thing you're left with is your inner belief. It's that uncomfortable in-between phase where nothing tangible has manifested yet, but the excitement of the beginning has faded. Doubts creep in. You start wondering whether the vision you've been holding is real or just wishful thinking. This is what can be called the subconscious test, a moment designed to reveal whether your belief stands on solid ground or collapses when reality doesn't immediately cooperate. Psychologically, this happens because the brain craves certainty. When there's no obvious proof that things are working out, it tries to protect you by pulling you back toward the familiar. It whispers thoughts like, maybe this isn't meant for me, or I should just stop before I embarrass myself. These aren't malicious thoughts, they're safety mechanisms. But if you don't recognize them for what they are, they can quietly convince you to abandon your path right before your efforts would have paid off. Spiritually, many describe this phase as a kind of trust exercise between you and the universe. Up until now, signs, nudges, and coincidences have helped keep your faith alive. But at a critical point, those external supports temporarily step back, not to punish you, but to see whether your belief can hold itself up. It's easy to trust when everything is aligning perfectly. It's much harder and far more powerful to trust when the evidence is invisible. This subconscious test often shows up in subtle ways. You might feel a sudden wave of discouragement without any clear reason. Plans may stall temporarily. People might stop giving you the validation they once did. Even your own motivation can dip unexpectedly. These are not signs of failure. They're pressure points revealing how deeply you trust your vision when it's not being constantly reinforced. The key to passing this test isn't to suppress doubt or pretend everything's perfect. It's to acknowledge the uncertainty while choosing to keep believing anyway. This is where breakthroughs separate from daydreams. Holding the vision in silence when no one else sees it and nothing around you confirms it is one of the most powerful inner acts a person can make. If you're in that quiet, uncertain space right now, take heart. It doesn't mean you're off track. It often means you're being invited to anchor your belief more deeply, because what's coming next will need that strength. As you approach a major breakthrough, something curious often happens. The behavior of people around you begins to shift in ways that can feel confusing, even unsettling. Friends who were once supportive may suddenly seem distant. Colleagues might start misinterpreting your intentions. Family members could become unusually critical or emotional. It's not that everyone is conspiring against you. It's that your personal energy, mindset, or direction is changing, and people subconsciously react to that shift. On an energetic level, when you begin stepping into a new phase of growth, you emit a different signal. People who are close to you, especially those emotionally or energetically connected, often pick up on that signal even before you consciously realize how much you're changing. This can make them feel uncertain or even threatened, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your transformation highlights their own fears or insecurities. Growth has a way of disrupting unspoken dynamics. For example, imagine you've quietly decided to pursue a bold new direction, starting a business, leaving a draining relationship, committing to a spiritual path. At first, nothing external has changed, but internally you've shifted. Over time, people around you sense this, and their reactions may range from subtle distancing to open questioning. A close friend might suddenly stop texting as often, or a family member may throw unexpected doubts your way. Sometimes it's supportive concern, but often it's simply discomfort with change. Psychologically, human beings are wired to maintain stability within their social circles. When one person in the system starts changing, others instinctively try to restore equilibrium, sometimes by unconsciously pulling that person back into their old role. This can manifest as increased criticism, passive-aggressive remarks, or even random misunderstandings that seem to appear out of nowhere. It's not always malicious. Often, it's a reflex. Spiritually, this phase is also seen as a kind of sorting process. As your path shifts, relationships realign. Some people naturally adjust and continue with you, others fade because their chapter in your journey is closing. It can feel lonely or confusing, but it's also a sign that the space around you is rearranging to match the new reality you're stepping into. The most important thing is not to take these shifts personally. Instead of reacting defensively, observe them with calm awareness. People's behavior often reflects their own internal state, not your worth or your direction. If things feel strange in your social circle, it might simply mean you're growing, and your environment is adjusting to catch up. One of the most surprising signs that you're nearing a breakthrough is when old habits, fears, or distractions suddenly resurface. You might find yourself tempted by behaviors you thought you'd outgrown, drawn back toward people or environments you've already moved on from, or facing inner doubts you believed were long resolved. This isn't regression, it's a final check. Life has a way of bringing old patterns back to the surface, not to punish you, but to give you one last opportunity to respond differently. Psychologically, when you're on the edge of change, the subconscious mind often triggers familiar patterns as a form of safety net. Growth means stepping into uncertainty, and uncertainty activates the brain's instinct to cling to what it knows, even if what it knows isn't actually good for you. That's why you might suddenly crave the comfort of procrastination, start revisiting limiting beliefs, or find yourself almost slipping back into self-sabotaging routines. It's your mind's way of asking, are you sure you want to move forward? Spiritually, this phenomenon is often described as the final exam before the next chapter. Old temptations, unresolved emotions, or unfinished cycles resurface right at the threshold of a breakthrough to give you a chance to choose consciously this time. It's like walking through a doorway and finding a familiar guardian standing there, waiting to see if you've truly grown. Do you react the same way as before, or do you make a different choice? For example, someone preparing to launch a new project might suddenly feel an overwhelming urge to delay everything until the timing feels perfect, echoing the same procrastination patterns that held them back in the past. Another person, ready to leave a toxic relationship, might find the other person reaching out with emotional promises, testing their resolve. These moments can feel strangely timed, almost as if the universe is asking, are you ready for real change? The key here is awareness. When old patterns reappear, it's easy to mistake them for setbacks. But in reality, they're mirrors showing you how far you've come and whether you're truly prepared to step forward. Recognizing them without judgment and consciously making new choices is how you pass this stage. If you've recently noticed familiar distractions or emotional loops resurfacing, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're slipping backward. It usually means you're closer to a breakthrough than ever before, and life is offering you the chance to finally close those old doors for good. When you're on the verge of a breakthrough, not every opportunity looks like a golden door swinging open. In fact, some of the most life-changing openings arrive cleverly disguised as problems, delays, or even disappointments. This is one of the most paradoxical truths about real progress. The doorway to your win often doesn't look like a doorway at all. At first, it may feel like rejection, frustration, or something falling apart. But with time, you often realize those obstacles were actually strategic detours. Consider the moment when someone gets turned down for a job they were convinced was perfect, only to receive an unexpected offer weeks later that aligns far better with their long-term goals. Or think of the person who experiences a sudden delay in a big project, feels crushed, and then realizes that the delay gave them time to avoid a critical mistake. What initially feels like a setback often turns out to be a redirection, a way of pushing you toward something you might not have chosen voluntarily, but that's ultimately better aligned with your path. Psychologically, humans tend to interpret obstacles as threats. We're wired to prefer linear progress, set a goal, move toward it, achieve it. When life throws curveballs, the instinct is to label them as bad and resist them, but breakthroughs rarely follow straight lines. Growth often requires pivots, unexpected lessons, and the ability to stay open even when the plan changes. Spiritually, many describe these disguised opportunities as divine reroutes. They happen because what you initially aimed for might be too small, mistimed, or misaligned with the bigger picture. The obstacle appears not as punishment, but as a way of clearing the path for something more fitting. These moments test whether you can trust timing and see beyond appearances. A useful mindset shift is to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" That simple change turns obstacles into teachers. Instead of slamming into them, you begin to notice the hidden openings they contain. If you're facing something right now that seems like a roadblock, pause before labeling it as defeat. What looks like a closed door may actually be a corridor leading somewhere better. Many people only realize in hindsight that their worst timing moments were actually their breakthrough moments in disguise. The key is to stay flexible, curious, and willing to trust that not every detour is a delay. Some are divine shortcuts in disguise. One of the clearest signs that you're on the brink of something significant is the sudden surge of intense, fluctuating emotions. You might wake up one morning feeling deeply inspired, ready to take on the world, only to find yourself a few hours later questioning everything, overwhelmed by doubt or exhaustion. Some days bring unexpected bursts of joy or clarity, while others feel heavy, confusing, or strangely restless. This emotional roller coaster isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's often evidence that you're standing at the edge of a powerful shift. Psychologically, major change activates the nervous system. Even positive change involves uncertainty, and uncertainty naturally stirs emotional waves. Your mind and body are preparing for a new normal, and in doing so, they process layers of anticipation, fear, hope, and even grief for the old patterns you're about to leave behind. This is why emotions can swing so dramatically in a short span of time. Your inner world is recalibrating. Spiritually, many interpret this phase as an energetic storm before a breakthrough. Just as the atmosphere becomes unstable before rain clears the air, your emotional landscape can become turbulent before a major life opening. Old energies, buried doubts, and deep hopes rise to the surface to be felt and released. It's a purification process, uncomfortable but necessary. You can't step into a new chapter while carrying all the emotional clutter of the old one. This phase often looks different for everyone. For some, it manifests as sudden tears without a clear reason. For others, it might be sleepless nights, intense mood swings, or moments of unexpected peace followed by bursts of anxiety. You might even find yourself oscillating between wanting to push forward with everything you have and wanting to hide under a blanket and pause life entirely. These shifts are not weakness. They're proof that something meaningful is stirring beneath the surface. The key here is not to fight these emotional waves, but to ride them with awareness. Don't shame yourself for feeling inconsistent. Emotional turbulence doesn't mean you're failing. It often means you're growing rapidly. Grounding practices like journaling, deep breathing, spending time in nature, or simply acknowledging what you feel without judgment can help you stay balanced as the storm passes through. If your emotions have felt unusually intense lately, don't panic. You're not broken, and you're not going backward. You're simply in the energetic stretch right before a new reality anchors in. This is the emotional climb before the view clears. Right before a major shift, many people experience a period where everything seems to go quiet. Plans that once moved quickly may slow down. Conversations become less frequent. Friends might pull back without explanation. The usual signs, synchronicities, or emotional highs that guided you earlier might seem to pause. It can feel like you've stepped into an invisible waiting room, uncomfortable, silent, and uncertain. But this quietness isn't abandonment, it's preparation. Psychologically, when you're transitioning into something new, your mind and energy need space to recalibrate. Just like a seed grows in darkness before it breaks through the soil, breakthroughs often require a temporary period of stillness. This is when your subconscious processes all the internal changes that have been happening, integrating new beliefs, ideas, and directions so that when the next step arrives, you're ready to act with clarity rather than confusion. Spiritually, this quiet phase is often described as the cocoon stage. Think of a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It retreats from the world not because it's lost, but because transformation requires solitude. Similarly, when your life is about to elevate, the noise around you may reduce so that you can hear something more important, your own inner voice. Without distractions, You become more sensitive to subtle insights and guidance that might have been drowned out by external activity. For many, this period can feel unsettling because modern life conditions us to equate silence with stagnation. When nothing seems to be happening, it's easy to assume that something's gone wrong. But in truth, this pause is like the deep breath before the leap. Things are aligning beneath the surface in ways you can't yet see. This is when your faith is quietly strengthened, your clarity deepens, and your energy prepares for the next surge of movement. For example, someone might be actively pursuing opportunities, seeing signs everywhere and feeling inspired, and then, seemingly overnight, everything slows. Calls stop coming in, messages go unanswered, progress halts. It's tempting to panic or force action during this time, but often, the best thing you can do is lean into the stillness rather than fight it. If you're in this quiet phase now, take it as a good sign. It doesn't mean your breakthrough has been cancelled. It usually means it's being assembled. Trust that the silence is working for you, not against you. Just like dawn follows the stillness of night, movement always returns after the cocoon stage. As the breakthrough draws nearer, something remarkable often happens. Moments of sudden clarity begin to cut through the fog. Ideas that once felt distant click into place. You may experience intuitive downloads, strong gut instincts, or flashes of insight that seem to arrive out of nowhere, often at unexpected times, like during a walk, just before sleep, or even in the middle of an ordinary task. These bursts of inner knowing are not coincidences. They're signs that your mind, heart, and spirit are aligning with what's about to unfold. Psychologically, this surge of clarity happens because the subconscious has been processing information beneath the surface for a long time. Once enough pieces align, the insight surfaces in a single, powerful wave. It's like spending hours trying to solve a puzzle, then suddenly placing the final few pieces in rapid succession and seeing the full picture. These moments can feel electric. Suddenly, you just know what to do next, even if the steps ahead are still forming. Spiritually, many view these bursts as guidance becoming louder as the path opens. When you've cleared distractions, passed tests of faith, and moved through emotional turbulence, your intuitive channel sharpens. Divine timing often involves these moments of unmistakable inner pull, when the nudge to act is so strong it bypasses overthinking. You don't have to force clarity, it arrives naturally when your internal state is ready to receive it. These moments might show up as a compelling urge to reach out to someone, take a specific action, or change direction slightly. Sometimes, they're accompanied by a calm sense of certainty. Other times, they feel like a lightning bolt of inspiration. For example, someone may spend weeks stuck on a decision, only to wake up one morning with absolute certainty about what their next step should be. Another person might feel a sudden push to apply for something, make a phone call, or revisit a passion they've ignored. The key is to trust these bursts without overanalyzing them to death. Clarity has a short window before doubt tries to creep back in. If you receive a strong inner nudge, honor it, write it down, take a small, aligned step immediately if you can. These flashes are often the catalysts that unlock the final stage of your breakthrough. If you've been feeling sudden waves of insight or urgency lately, take it seriously. This isn't random mental chatter, it's your deeper intelligence signaling that the moment to move is approaching. Trust that clarity when it comes. It's often the universe whispering, "This is it." As you edge closer to your breakthrough, something subtle yet powerful begins to happen. The world around you starts reflecting your internal state with startling accuracy. Opportunities, conversations, and even random interactions seem to mirror your beliefs, fears, and expectations. It's almost as if reality holds up a mirror and says, "Here, what's really going on inside you." This phenomenon, often called the mirror effect, is one of the most revealing parts of the breakthrough journey. Psychologically, this happens because your perception filters what you notice, respond to, and attract. When your mindset shifts, so does your interpretation of events. If you carry deep doubts, you'll unconsciously focus on situations that confirm them. If you build inner confidence, you'll start noticing openings that were always there but previously invisible. Life doesn't change first, you do. Then, the external world adjusts to match the new signal you're sending. Spiritually, many view this mirror effect as the universe responding to your vibration. Your energy, whether grounded in trust or tangled in fear, acts like a signal broadcast. The people and situations that show up aren't random, they're often precise reflections of your readiness. When you believe in your breakthrough, doors that were closed can seem to swing open effortlessly. Conversely, if you hold onto old insecurities, life often mirrors them through temporary blockages or confusing detours, not to punish you, but to show you what still needs alignment. For example, imagine someone preparing to take a bold leap toward their dream career. If inwardly they believe they're not ready, they may suddenly encounter conversations, job listings, or feedback that reinforce their hesitation. But if they shift their internal state, believing they're capable and worthy, they often notice entirely different opportunities emerging almost immediately. The outer world becomes a responsive surface, not a static obstacle. This mirror effect is particularly strong in relationships and chance encounters during this phase. You might meet people who reflect your current mindset back to you through their reactions, advice, or energy. Positive reinforcement often shows up when you're internally aligned. Challenges surface when you still have inner doubts to clear. The key here is awareness. Instead of blaming external circumstances, pause and observe what they're revealing about your inner world. Ask yourself, what is life showing me about my beliefs right now? If the reflection isn't what you want, don't get discouraged, adjust the signal. Your reality is like a mirror. It doesn't judge, it simply reflects. When you refine what's inside, the outside inevitably follows. Every breakthrough has a defining moment, a point where everything condenses into a single decision, action, or leap of faith. This isn't always a dramatic movie-style event. Often it's quiet and deeply personal, but it carries weight. It's the moment where hesitation meets clarity, fear meets faith, and you either step forward or stay where you are. This one decision moment is the turning key that unlocks the door to the win that's been waiting for you. Psychologically, major change requires commitment. Up to this point, you've been building belief, navigating doubts, and interpreting signs, but real transformation happens when you choose decisively. This is the point where your subconscious and conscious mind align in a single, bold yes. It might be applying for that opportunity you've been circling for months, having a long-avoided conversation, ending a draining chapter, or fully investing your energy into something that matters. The power of this moment lies not in its size, but in its finality. It's when you stop waiting for more signs and start embodying your decision. Spiritually, this is often described as the leap moment, the instant when faith becomes action. Up until now, you may have received nudges, synchronicities, emotional tests, and bursts of clarity, but at some point, the universe stops sending hints and waits for your move. It's like standing at a doorway that's been open the whole time. The key isn't another sign, it's your step through. Many people underestimate how subtle these moments can be. For one person, it could be signing a form at midnight, heart racing, but knowing it's right. For another, it might be choosing to walk away from something that no longer aligns, even without knowing what comes next. Some describe it as a moment of deep calm, where the noise quiets and their entire being whispers, "This is it." Others feel a rush of adrenaline followed by an unshakable certainty. The critical thing is that this decision shifts energy instantly. Once you commit, reality starts reorganizing around that choice. Doors you didn't see before become visible. People respond differently. Opportunities accelerate. It's as if life was waiting for you to make the first move. If you felt lately like everything is building towards something but haven't yet taken that decisive step, this may be your key moment approaching. Don't overcomplicate it. The one decision moment is rarely about perfection, it's about alignment. When you choose boldly, the breakthrough stops being a distant possibility and starts becoming your new reality. Once the breakthrough energy begins to unfold, there's a crucial phase that many people overlook, anchoring it. It's one thing to step into a new reality, it's another to stabilize it so it doesn't slip through your fingers. Think of it like landing a plane. You've made the leap, navigated turbulence, and touched down. But if you don't ground the aircraft properly, you risk skidding off the runway. Anchoring the victory frequency is about holding your new energy steady so that your win becomes sustainable, not fleeting. Psychologically, big breakthroughs can trigger equally big emotional waves. Excitement, relief, and gratitude often mix with subtle fears. What if this doesn't last? Or am I really ready for this? These thoughts are normal, but if left unchecked, they can destabilize the momentum you've built. Anchoring involves consciously replacing survival mode thinking with stability mode thinking. Instead of constantly looking for the next sign, you begin to live as if this new reality is already solid, because it is. Spiritually, this is the phase of integration. The universe doesn't give breakthroughs just for the thrill of the moment. It offers them so you can grow into a new version of yourself. That requires consistency, showing up daily with gratitude, presence, and responsibility. Gratitude, in particular, is a powerful anchoring force. When you actively appreciate what's unfolding, you signal that you're ready to maintain it, not chase it. Practically, anchoring looks like small but deliberate actions, setting new routines that align with your elevated state, maintaining boundaries that protect your peace, continuing inner work, and nurturing the relationships or opportunities that emerged from the breakthrough. For example, someone who lands their dream job might anchor by developing steady habits that match their new role rather than slipping into old procrastination patterns. A person who experiences a spiritual awakening may ground it through meditation, journaling, or spending time in quiet reflection, instead of rushing to prove it to others. This stage is also where humility meets confidence. Instead of treating the breakthrough like a peak you might lose, you treat it like a foundation you're building upon. You stop grasping and start owning it. If you're entering this phase, the key is steadiness. Celebrate, yes, but also nurture. Your breakthrough isn't fragile, but it does need conscious grounding. Gratitude, faith, and aligned action will help you hold this frequency with ease. When you anchor it, your win stops being a moment in time and becomes a new way of living. Your breakthrough is closer than you realize. Trust the timing, trust yourself, and keep going. If this spoke to you, like, share, subscribe to Quantum Veil, and comment, "I'm ready."